Good afternoon, and thanks everyone for joining Avaap for a webinar today on Infor Document Management. Looking at the attendee list rolling up, we've got people coming in, so bear with us for about another 30 seconds. We'll just let a few more people get in the room, get their seats, and we'll get going here. Yeah, so this is great. We have a lot of people here today, a lot of interest in Infor Document Management. Good afternoon. Melissa Prusher, Vice President of Marketing at Avaap, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to attend today's webinar on Infor Document Management and the benefits of an integrated solution. We have a exciting, informative session ahead led by Avaap Solution Architect Ann Wehrheim. Happy to present this for you. Before we get started, I do want to point out that there is an audience console on the right-hand side of your screen. There are some application widgets you can use, including a Q&A box. You can feel free to submit questions at any time. If you have any technical difficulty, you'll notice there's a help menu at the top of that screen as well. An on-demand version of today's webinar will be available on our website in approximately 2 business days. And everyone who's on today's call will receive an on-demand version of the presentation delivered directly to their inbox. For those of you who don't know Avaap, we are the largest systems integration and management consulting firm strategically focused on the industry's top ERP and EHR platforms, Infor, Epic, and Cerner. If you don't know Ann Wehrheim, let me take a moment here to introduce her to you. She'll be leading today's presentation. She's a longtime industry veteran and one of the most knowledgeable solution architects I've had the pleasure of knowing. Her passion for what she does and helping customers optimize their Infor investments will be obvious as she takes you through today's topic on Infor Document Management and the benefits of integrated document management. Ann's been with Avaap since 2014. And, not appropriate for today's webinar, but if you do have a personal one-on-one conversation with you, I'm sure she'd be happy to tell you about her happy place on Lake Michigan. So without further ado, Ann, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's get started for today's webinar.
Thank you, Melissa. Good afternoon, everybody. As Avaap's CloudSuite supply chain solution architect, my awareness of IDM began with the discovery of sample document templates that were added after we did our first CloudSuite financial supply management client implementation. This is a topic that I'm actually really excited about and glad to present to you today. And I asked if I could actually share this and what I've learned about it so far. This is something that's evolving, and I'm excited to do this presentation today. So I'd like to talk to you today about the 3 basic sections of IDM. And what I'm going to talk to is today is all about CloudSuite. So Infor Document Management is not a new product, but like I said, what I'm going to speak to is everything that's related to CloudSuite and its relationship with IDM. I do have a couple of disclaimers and things that I want to be clear about before we begin today. Infor is just starting to work with the first multi-tenant deployment and the IDM templates at the beginning of May. So some of this is brand new functionality, and they are just starting some relationships with some of this functionality and brand new clients. It's also important to say up front that the capture piece that we're going to do a brief look at today is not GA yet. That is coming, and I'm going to give you just kind of a flavor of that today, but that is not for general audience yet. So you're getting kind of a preview. So this is the roadmap of Infor Document Management. This was actually shared at Infor's Winter Showcase that they've had in Minnesota. And as you can see, there's a lot going on here. Infor is committed to enhancing the features associated with IDM. That's going to become a lot more evident as I show you an example of how on the supply chain side, the setup has recently changed. So there's things that they're still exploring with a lot of the mobile applications. There's things that in the summer that they're kind of looking at a 50% completion with some document redlining and so forth. So this is their roadmap at this point. So our agenda for today, an IDM overview, talk about the manual documents, the output management, IDM capture, and some new features. Starting with our overview. We always have some prerequisites, some things we need to make sure that we talk about. Infor Mingle 12.0, if you're a multi-tenant, that's where everybody's at. Same thing with ION, you're gonna need ION 12.0. Access to the IDM client. We also need some pre-delivered security roles. With our CloudSuite, we have these pre-delivered security roles. We have these as well with our IDM. We're also going to need some browser plugin requirements. The Java Runtime Environment 1 is going to be required for screen capture features of IDM. Adobe Flash is going to be required to enable the file download and upload capabilities of IDM. So during your first access into IDM, it's going to ask you to install these required plugins. So our key benefits. This is part of the Infor platform now. It is delivered with it. It's also the full lifecycle management of documents, the capturing, the management, the delivery. It's now one repository for all of your related documents. It's also a logical categorization of these documents and the processes. We can use the in-context viewer within CloudSuite. And then we get into our workflow processing for documentation when we look at the capture piece of it. We can also use homepage content configuration. And everybody loves the mobile apps, so that's also something that we can use as a part of IDM. Document management overview. So we're going to talk about kind of three main things: the management, the delivery, and the capture. So the documents, what can we do with these documents to manage them, to store them in IDM? And then how do we build new documents, the templates and the outputs for maybe project invoices or purchase orders? And then the new capture piece of it that's going to be coming, that's exciting for the invoicing piece of things with OCR. So what is a document? It's not necessarily just a piece of paper. It's really a file. And that file is stored by a certain document type. So it could be an item, it could be a quote, it could be a requisition or a purchase order. And all of those different types of files and document types are a way to organize and configure our information. So this slide is an overview of the IDM capture piece. It's giving us an idea of that ability to scan an invoice, use ION to be able to approve and code and transform that information, and then process it and bring it into CloudSuite as an invoice. So the first thing we're going to talk about are our manual documents. So this is where we can create this central repository for documents. where we can upload documents and use different document types to classify things. So each business class is now configured with the corresponding context and that document type. This is all built in now. This central repository is available for multi-tenant, single-tenant, and on-premise. And that's not necessarily true for everything we're going to talk about today, but this piece of it is available for all three. The list of the business objects enabled for IDM is available in the Context Application Reference Guide. Infor has done a good job with the documentation. There is a documentation that's now available in the setup for this and the availability for the IDM document enablement on this. So this Contact Application Reference Guide gives you the IDM document types that are available. So how do we use this? Using IDM in CloudSuite. So we have different types of screens within CloudSuite. We have the list screen, we have the composite form, and we have our dashboard. And on our far right-hand side, on all three types of these different screens, we have our context viewer. So that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on when we talk about IDM and this the document management. We have the ability to attach relevant documents. So for a good example, a purchase order quote, if we wanted to attach a document like a quote or for an item, it could be an item image or a description or some other relevant information about that item other than what we would normally have in our three item description fields. This is where we can attach additional documentation to our items or our purchase orders or other fields. These are just a couple of examples that I've given here. The documents belong to a document type. And then when you attach a document, you have to identify the business entity and the document type. So I'm going to go through an example, so this will make more sense. If we look at an example of a purchase order, if we look at the list, if we pick a purchase order, you click on the purchase order record. On the far right-hand side, we have the context viewer. We've selected our purchase order. We would select our order slip or maybe our quote, whatever file we want to attach to it as the number 2. Then as the number 3, we're going to select the context. So this would be the Infor purchase order. And then the document type would also be purchase order and click upload. This is going to attach that document to our purchase order. You can also attach them at the line level. So user can upload documents for either a purchase order at the header level or at the line level. You would just select the correct context and the document type. So if it were at the header level, you would be selecting the context of the Infor purchase order and the document type of purchase order. If it was at the line level, you'd be selecting Infor purchase order line and the document type of purchase order line. When you're then viewing, you could see both of those attachments. You can see the line attachment, and you can see the purchase order attachment in the context viewer. Both of those would be displayed. So when you've got different views, you've got your different tabs on the left-hand side. When you're looking at your purchase order detail, all of those different attachments are accessible then across all the different tabs on your left-hand side. So that context viewer shows you all of your different attachments. The item dashboard is another example. The item dashboard, if you click on an item, it shows you all of your associated information, like purchase order lines and things like that. But it would also show you any item attachments that you've made or associated records that you have with that item. So these are different than what we've had before. If you're not using IDM and you have pictures, or you've had pictures added to your items in the past, this is that we're talking about something different here than IDM. The picture that you've attached to your item record is different than a picture that you would have attached to an item when we're talking about IDM. The purchase order comment and the attachment that you would add at that level is different than the attachment that you would have with IDM. This is it's not these two examples that are on your screen now are not a contextual viewer type of a document. These are attached to your item or attached to your record, but are not part of the Infor Document Management piece of the application. So we're going to move into the output management, forms, printing, and that type of thing. This is available for multi-tenant and on-premise. Infor wants me to share with you that there have been some known issues with this, and that right now that this requires development intervention to enable this. There are a couple of early adopters working through the issues that have been identified. So this is something that is kind of a work in progress. So this is forms printing using IDM templates. This could be for purchase order issues. It could also be for project invoices using the project account role. You would create an IDM template under the design phase. The generation would be an output document. The distribution would be printing, emailing, faxing. And then the management would be the in-content document, searching and accessing in IDM. So the output document generation flow, the process of the output of this document. It could be something like our user in our picture could be a buyer. That buyer could trigger the process by doing an issue final on a purchase order. That would send the parameters to API, which is the application programming interface. It would then read and process that file, and the document is then stored in IDM automatically. So we have IDM document template fact sheets. There are two different types of output templates. There are IDM output templates and there are sample document templates. These are two different document templates, and the document templates for IDM do not automatically move to the IDM content repository. So these are things that you have to create and save there. The sample document templates, which are in a different area, those are being updated monthly with your new CU releases and are being added to, and they're things that you can add to them as a client. It's a great repository for fact sheets and ISD uploads and things like that as well. But this is a different area. So this is not something that is an automated thing. You have to actually create these and save them there. So here's an example of an IDM document template. This happens to be for a purchase order. This is an IDM document template that actually is a sample that comes with the software. So this document template you could save do it using Application Administrator. If you go under the Application Administrator, the Supply Management Setup, go under Purchasing, and under Purchasing Document IDM Templates, you could save that document template there. And every time then you choose to use, every time you go to maybe email or print or fax, that document template would be used. So there's a difference between the what we used to use when we printed out purchase orders. So we used to have the RTF files, and using RTF files and using these IDM templates is different. So there, and I'll show you the difference in the setup screen in a minute, but we are talking about kind of two different paths. So this would be an example of the IDM document output with a company logo and the data input. So then you could see that document output in your in context in your PO view. So once you had your list of purchase orders, you could see in that in context viewer on your right hand side, you could see that the view of that purchase order. It's also available in the normal places that you'd be able to view purchase orders as well. So this is where our supply management setup considerations come into place. And there's a couple of places on the finance side where IDM is a consideration as well. On the purchasing company, we have the option now in the middle of this screen. It says use IDM. If you click that box and you say that you want to use IDM as part of your purchasing company setup, you now have the option to have some additional templates. You can use a purchase order IDM template, receiving document IDM template, or receiving delivery and put away IDM template. So it's definitely not all about purchase orders. There are additional templates that you can create and then use. We also have on the inventory company the ability to use IDM. So if we click that we're going to use it for the inventory company, we now have it on a requisition IDM template, a bill of lading IDM template, warehouse pick list print IDM templates that we can create and use as well. So this is new. This functionality was not there for the first CloudSuite supply chain implementation that was done. So I said that there were some differences, and this is kind of the first place that when I became aware of IDM, the sample document templates. There are some examples. If you go under Application Administrator, Supply Management, and go down under Shared, there's a list here of things. You can shorten the column and it shows if it's IDM or not, and it'll give you the list of the IDM templates that are there and the types. So there are some examples here of some IDM sample document templates that are available. So how do you manage documents in IDM? And I also want to be clear. IDM is a subject that we could probably, we could definitely spend probably several hours talking about, because there are several different pieces to it. What I've been talking about is mostly IDM in relation to CloudSuite so far, but IDM is an actual a different piece to it. So if we think about the application menu switcher, I call it a Rubik's Cube in multi-tenant, or the Mingle 12. That's you switch between CloudSuite, Mobile Supply Chain, BI, and IDM. If we go into think about an IDM itself, there's a different area, and if we think about IDM, there's a whole place, there's a whole other application of managing the documents, and like I said, we could probably spend a whole hour or more talking about just managing the documents themselves within IDM. And like I said, I've been talking a lot in relationship to the documents and CloudSuite. So managing the documents within IDM, I'm not going to cover it a whole lot, but there are a lot of different displays that you can use within IDM. You can create templates and documents in IDM. You can edit them using check-in and check-out there. You can view history, but it is a separate URL, and similar to mobile supply chain and BI, that type of thing. That you would access through your application menu switcher. Like I said, I call it looks like a Rubik's Cube to me. Okay, so we're going to move on into IDM capture. This is a really exciting new feature. Like I said before, this is not GA yet. I just want to share some of this information with you. Since this is, it is exciting, kind of an exciting new coming attraction. IDM capture is sold at, this part of it is sold as an add-on, must be licensed through Infor to receive the IDM plugins with the download. So I do want to preface that before we get into this. So this is a really good graphic of the process of what's going on. And if you hear people talk about Episoft, capture is basically the same thing as Episoft. They're kind of used interchangeably. So the IDM image is getting a record in ION, and it's using two BODs, or business object documents, a capture document BOD and a content document BOD. So you'll need two M3 technical resources to help with the Episoft, IDM, and BOD integration. And will be used to create supplier. These will be used to create supplier invoice BODs. Excuse me. So this is the diagram of the document, the scanning, and the process of the three different ways of the information coming into IDM, and all of the transformation that can happen. Excuse me. Approvals and all that kind of thing, transformation, and coming into the into ERP. Important things that we need to know. IDM capture is deployed only for multi-tenant or on-premise, not for single tenant. Two types of licenses: annual images, pages scanned per year; cores, unlimited quantity, restricted based on throughput velocity. Business object documents will be used to transfer the data, and Infor will deliver plugins for IDM capture access. So how is Infor doing this? IDM capture will permit developers to enable intelligent document capture from their own applications. So capture enable your line of business applications. So IDM capture has multiple methods to consume documents. Create shared folders, having a unique scanner, manual upload, or emails sent to generic email addresses. If we can ask IDM capture server to classify documents, then send the results back to the requesting system. Embed intelligent capture entirely within your application. This is really an exciting addition to IDM. So this is just an example of a use case for an invoice payment approval. So a business challenge could be a physical invoice electronically or via email, and the business requires a separate automated electronic approval process for the payment. So the process would be that the IDM capture can extract and scan invoices by monitoring folders or emails. IDM capture reads the document, extracts information, and sends that data to the IDM attributes. The mapping files must be configured. The entry is stored in IDM, and Infor Ion creates. Infor Ion workflow is kicked off, and for the approval process, which prompts a task in Infor Mingle. Approving managers view the task, review, approve, reject, add notes, etc. The entry is updated with IDM and CloudSuite financials. So this is an example of what that automated flow could look like. That email comes That email comes in, and the system is scanning that and is reading that that attachment. The information then from the attachment is OCR'd. We're creating the invoice in the system, and we have our details in our invoice, and we have our in-context information that's also created as well. So that was just kind of a flavor of the IDM capture. There's more, obviously more to come on that when it's a general release. So I'd kind of like to conclude with this, talking a little bit about the latest features with IDM. The things that have come out most recently are document stitching or bundling, context publishing, document printing, some mobile enhancements. We have document stitching. So within the IDM application itself, we have the ability to bundle documents. So this is one of the new exciting pieces. We also have context publishing, the ability to see all related documents from within IDM. We can bookmark things, view, and search them. We also have document printing. Lots of different views within IDM as well. And then we have some mobile enhancements, some new single sign-on experience, a brand new sign-in experience for mobile, including single sign-on and mobile device management. And URL schemes. We can attach IDM documents to Infor Mingle, upload Infor Mingle attachments. allows mobile applications to communicate with each other. So I want to conclude with just revisiting our key benefits of IDM. It is part of the delivered Infor platform. It's our full life cycle of capture, management, and delivery of our document management. One repository, a way to categorize these documents. It gives us the ability to do the in-context viewer in CloudSuite. We've got the exciting IDM capture with our workflow processing for documentation. We have the ability to do the homepage content configuration, and we've got the mobile apps. And that's all I have for IDM. So a little bit about Avaap.
Well, Anne, thanks so much for that great presentation and then really well-organized content. Very, very interesting to hear about IDM. And again, thank you to everybody who joined us on today's call. We really appreciate your taking time out of your agenda to speak with us or listen to today's presentation. Our next webinar will be on May 16th, and the topic is Burst and Intelligent ERP. You can get more information about that session and register for it on avaap.com. If your organization has prioritized becoming a data-driven organization as one of its goals, this is definitely a can't miss session. So as I mentioned at the top of the call, Avaap is the largest systems integrator strategically focused on Infor. We provide all licensed services and have brought more customers live on the cloud than any other partner. If you're thinking about an Infor CloudSuite or GHR implementation or seeking support of your implementation following go live, Avaap has referenceable customers to share their success stories, and we'd love to put you in touch with them. So again, thanks so much for attending today's presentation. At the close of the webinar is a brief survey, and I encourage you to respond. Let us know what other topics you're interested in, information you're looking for. We're certainly happy to put those meaningful presentations together for you. To keep it simple, if you have questions on today's content, feel free to send them to info@avaap.com. And again, a great big thanks for participating in today's webinar. An on-demand version will be delivered to your inbox within the next 2 days. Thanks again. Bye.